Hi gamers, Simply Fun Gaming, and we've got another update video for Shadows of Forbidden Gods. I'm going to try a different format this time. Let me know what you think of this. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit better. We're going to cover the patch notes, and at a couple of key points I'll clip to some gameplay or clip to some nice pictures so we can see what we're talking about here. But in the main, we're going to go through the different patch notes. I'll go through what the different changes are and what's happened since version 0.5. There's some pretty big changes in this one, guys, so do keep watching. So I'm not going to read this verbatim, but I'll summarise it real quick. We've got a new god called Ophanim, and he is quite an interesting character. He presents himself as holy, but as it says here, his perfection is actually like these crystal robotic type humans, is what he, or angels I suppose, is what he turns humanity into. So it's actually quite horrific. And at first he presents as a saviour against Shadow, but eventually it becomes quite apparent that obviously he's not this saviour that he claims to be. The gameplay for Ophanim, and I'll cut to him just in a second and talk about that. So we're looking at Ophanim here, the Divine Beyond. As you can see, we've got a bit of flavour text in the top right, and then in the bottom left here we've got some information about how the god plays. It will obviously cut to a little bit more when we press select here, which I'll go on to. We can see the contributing designer, somebody called Archie Phoenix, so thank you for doing this god. It's a very interesting god, and as you can see from this picture and from this text here, Ophanim is all about light and dark. So he presents himself as this saviour, as you can see, this sort of angelic character here, but actually he's the darkness behind. He's the mastermind, the one who's also causing the problem. So you will literally have your agents create shadow, create doubt, create worry, and then you'll spread Ophanim's faith that appears on the map as a glowing light. And those countries that are, or those societies rather, that are near Shadow and are worried by it will actually flock to his protection and be happy about it. However, if there are nations or societies that are outside of, have no threat of Shadow, and they see what's happening to other nations with a high level of faith, they gain doubt, which can be a problem. And you can actually gain doubt in nations where you have quite high faith. And doubt is like the negative of faith. Basically, it will cause faith to deteriorate, it will cause problems, it will stop the I suppose it will stop your influence really in many ways. The idea is, when I've played them anyway, is to create two nations, one, as it says there, one almost enslaved by the light, one enslaved by the darkness, and you use them both to destroy everybody else. It works really well in my experience. It's a fun dynamic, difficult to play, not the easiest god, but very, very fun. It really does play on that duality. If we go into select here, we'll see a bit more. So here's the mechanics. Look, here we get information on the mechanics. The faith. Faith in Ophanim comes as the people seek salvation from the terrors they see in the world. Nations which are partially enshadowed or near enshadowed locations will allow your faith to grow quickly. So what I do is I basically start a big shadow empire, which is weird because you're not really using many of Ophanim's unique things. So I'll start a big shadowy empire, and then around sort of turn 100-ish, I will then start spreading my faith. And because they've got that big shadow empire close to them, or even in the same place, it allows your faith to spread really quick and really well, and without too much threat from doubt, in my experience anyway. So as you can see there, it's strengthened by locations with shadow. There are other ways to strengthen it. She has unique powers that allow you to strengthen faith too, as you can imagine. And when it gets to 300, it's interesting, yeah. So when it gets to 300% the faith, the city is converted into a perfect city. So there's no free will left in the humanity there, in humans there. No unrest. It's just quite literally, it's almost like a robotic city then. It becomes this weird, they can't rebel, they can't really do much to fight against you at that stage, which is great. Apart from being destroyed, of course, by the Alliance, but that's another thing. But then this is the problem, doubt. So humans will feel doubt as they watch their neighbours slowly lose their free will and be transformed into cold, unfeeling, killing machines, enslaved to Ophanim's will. Doubt will increase fastest in locations which have low faith and border those with high faith, right? So if they see what's going on, if they see these humans getting turned into these weird crystal things, they'll start freaking out, of course, and they'll gain some doubt, right? Which makes sense. There are two ways to deal with doubt, rather, and in my experience, the best way is to send your, because doubt is also, I think it's, let's have a quick look here. Yeah, so I'm sure exactly. Yeah, as it says it here. Look, an aware ruler generates doubt and stops the spread of faith. So what I used to do quite a lot of is just assassinate loads of rulers when I play as Ophanim, just to keep that the doubt down and let your faith spread. So you almost have these weird, not weird particularly, I guess it's quite fitting actually, but you have agents almost dedicated to just assassinating rulers that become aware, whether in your areas of control, if that makes sense. It's a fun dynamic, guys. It's a great god. Have a go with them, see what you think. Very, very interesting, very, very fun to play. So now I've talked about Ophanim, let's carry on with the update here. So the second thing, and one of the other major things in this update is it's allowed modding. So I've mentioned before briefly that modding is now available in the game, and that the first mod was actually created by the developer. Well, he's put out a mod tutorial, if you like, for people to follow, and a couple of people have already made, I think there's 2 mods out at the minute that aren't by the developer themselves. There's one, a collection of mid-challenge events, I think an event pack by, and I'll cover this in a separate video by the way guys at some point, by an actual Englishman and more. And then there's a set of new minions. I don't think they're all vampiric, I think there's a mix actually, but an event's associated with them by 8th Daughter of Frost there, so thank you very much guys for making those mods. I have played with them and they are very fun, and like I say, I'll be doing a video covering those at some point in the near future, so keep your eyes peeled. Hopefully, like it says here, there'll be many more, because it's just, the game is suddenly so much more open now. With mods, it just gives us all this flexibility in terms of what we can do, what we can see in the game. I think it's quite an exciting thing guys, and hopefully we'll see more and more mods as the game gets a bit more traction, it gets a bit more popularity. It is definitely getting more and more popular, but as it becomes, maybe takes that next step, we'll see quite a few mods coming out, and like he says, it'll allow us to create the fantasy apocalypse of our dreams there. So there is like I said, the documentation to do modding that teaches you how to do it. It's a bit beyond me, but it's something that obviously some people can manage if they've got the time and the resource. And I'm sure if you want to take a look, there's a link there, as you can see. So, and then the other major changes is with regards to the UI, and I'll cover a little bit of these as well. I'll clip onto these as we get to them. So let's take a look in detail then. So we've got Ophanim added. I've talked about Ophanim already, I'm not going to talk about them again, we'll skip to the next one. Reduce the victory gain from deepons. Deepons were seen to be a bit too powerful by themselves, so they've been reduced in terms of the victory percentage that they give you for the conquest victory. Deepons can now spread to the abyssal cities without requiring a direct sea link, so that's helpful for allowing the migration to succeed effectively. And if you've got abyssal cities that are quite a way off in the map, they can still get things there effectively, which is useful. The chosen one now tries to build alliances if they detect the alliances are building fast enough, so that's a balance pass as it were. The chosen one was considered to be a little bit too slow at getting his alliance built up. It's a lot faster now, and it's a good thing I think. It makes the game a lot more challenging. Dark rulers will rebel if their ruler tries to join the alliance. I like this, it gives you an opportunity if you've enshadowed a ruler for them to say no, I don't want it, I want to stay evil, I'm not playing your nice games. Game difficulty no longer affects challenge complexity. So this is, right, yeah, so this, when you made the game harder previously, it just made the challenges, or one of the main things it did is it made the challenges longer, which wasn't the most fun, it just made things, felt like they're taking forever. No, it doesn't change the speed, but the stat gain is lower for agents, so that does obviously reduce the speed at which they complete challenges. I suspect it affects other things, but I'm not sure what. Reduced probability of heroes reconciling. They were doing it an awful lot, 10% has gone down to 4%, that feels a lot more balanced. They were doing it every other turn, it felt like heroes would be reconciling with someone at some point, so gives it a bit more drama as the game progresses. Rulers can now abdicate if they feel civil war. So this is quite difficult to achieve for a ruler, I think, but if they can see danger on the horizon, if they worry that there's going to be a civil war, they're going to be killed, they can just leave posts and actually become heroes, I think, too, which is interesting. Increased deep on growth speed. So despite the victory gain reduction, they have increased the growth of them, so they do a bit more. They've also increased the menace from non-infiltrated neighbours, so this will make obviously them more this will make heroes much more aware of them and much more willing to destroy them, I suppose. Change the deep one's shadow gain threshold from 50% to 100% and reduce shadow gain speed. Okay, so deep ones can gain 100% shadow and they gain it slower. That makes sense, so it doesn't double stack and get you that victory too quick. Minerva's Heart of the Forest cost scales with times used instead of number of seals broken, so this is another balance pass for Minerva. So what happened previously is just as long as the game went on, the cost for that particular ability, Heart of the Forest, went up. And if you've played with the Minerva, you'll know that Heart of the Forest is how you spread your influence effectively. Now it's based on how many times you used it, so it's gonna. I think that's a great change actually, because it's going to mean that as you get more influence, the cost to get extra influence goes up, which makes sense, right, in this sort of game, rather than just an arbitrary number of turns. Primal Font Waters can now be drunk even if not fully depleted. Okay, well that makes sense to me. I don't know why you'd not be able to do that anyway. Plague Doctor can now cure Plague and reduce his menace. That's a great addition, because he does get a lot of menace, the old Plague. Ooh, the old Plague Doctor. Just go back there. He does get a lot of menace. That is a good change there, to give him some way to reduce it without having to leave and go to another settlement or something, and reduce his effectiveness. Reduce devastation caused by human armies in both capturing and raiding locations. In brief, it was found that human armies are just really quite happy to absolutely destroy another location, even if they were two quote unquote good armies fighting each other. So I think his change is to try and make them a little less killy and destructive, and in so doing make them a little less likely to basically get us the win, I suppose, right? The more they destroy, the more that helps us get to our victory in the standard destruction victory condition. Fort's defensive bonus doubled. Forts are just seemingly too weak, they weren't really having an effect on the game. I'm not sure this is the fix, as it were, but it does definitely help. And then the ruler motivation has increased to send armies against agents at distance. It was found that rulers are very rarely doing this now, and that's increased. So the further away an agent is, it becomes so unlikely that they're going to have an army sent to them by any rulers, because they're just too far. Well, now rulers are going to go, do you know what? I see ya, you're dangerous, you need to go and send armies. That's another good balance pass. Other things here, and I'll cut to some of these as well. So we've seen this in another video in the beta, but it's now on the main branch. Flags are added to the capital city of all social groups who are on a maximum zoom. I'll cut to a little start of this now. Okay, so we've seen these before. I'll touch on them real quickly, but as you can see here, we've got the map. If we zoom out fully, if we zoom in a bit so you can see the difference here, to the city of Alione. So if we zoom out, look, we'll get the different national symbols. You can see it for these kingdoms here, you can see it for the hordes where they get their tattered, the orcs get the tattered flag because they're obviously a bit more warlike. They also get a little bit of a filter just over their area, but it's hard to tell in something like, I see this one's quite easy here, this Queendom of the Squeons, it's quite easy, it's got a green tinge there. So there is a bit of a filter applied to try and make it easier as well. I love this change, guys. I really think it's such a good change. I just love the way the map looks now. I think it's so much clearer. The text could probably be a bit better, but it's fine for now. It's certainly good enough. And yeah, I really do like this change. So we can see here the different locations, the different societies with their flags and their symbols. Great touch. And then what we can also see, it's down here in the bottom right, we've got different filters. So we can press this, brings up your nation one, we can press this to bring up the diplomacy mask, etc, etc. We can click on these different ones, and it just gives us those at a glance there. We can also change the hotkeys. As standard it's 1 through to 8, but we can change those if we wish. Infiltration, we haven't infiltrated anywhere yet, of course. And then just press this button to clear it, which I think is a lovely touch. So some nice little UI touches there. Map tints added also, as we could see on that video there. Added an icon for the D-bonds. Well, that's been in there for as long as I'm aware, so I didn't have one, to be honest. This is useful. Space key can have you to end turns, so rather than have to press, I think it was page down was the previous button, you could just press the space button, space key, and you'll skip turns, which is a nice quality of life thing. The filters, the map filters I've talked about, 1 through to 8, have been added to buttons. Added hotkeys Q and E to cycle between agents. Not something I use very often, but useful nonetheless. Escape returns to the map if you're in the main menu. Again, quality of life. You can rebuy map keys, that's great. Agents no longer have preferences. They didn't have any effect on the gameplay anyway, which makes sense. You might as well remove them. They'll probably confuse new players. And added Discord tag to reduce unrest and brutal crackdown because it caused Discord. Right? Bug fixes. Just for a bit of comedy here. Dead characters are no longer be featured in events. Gutted. Really did enjoy it when the old dead characters popped up. Play can't get stuck at 300%. This is an important one actually because this is causing issues effectively where you could never get another modifier to get to 300%. I think it caused a bit of a problem for some gamers. That's a very good and welcome fix. I think there's been a suggestion actually that play does something special when it gets to 300%, so we'll have to see what that is. Fixed bug where societies would not execute rebel dukes, reducing effectiveness of agent caused civil wars, causing long-term resentment between families. So societies would not execute rebel dukes, reducing the effectiveness of agent caused civil wars that cause long-term resentment. I see. So because it became difficult to make the courtier, let's be honest, or maybe the trickster, cause resentment between families because they would be less likely to execute the rebels. One there, they're going to execute them more. There's going to be that beef in between the families. Good addition, nice narrative as well. Fixed a bug where a dead person can console the grieving relative. Yeah, that needs to be fixed. Dark Empire and Ophanim controlled empires no longer block high menace agents. Yeah, that should never have done it, to be honest. So you obviously don't want the Dark Empire, nor do you want the Ophanim controlled empire to be able to block your own agents. That doesn't make any sense. They should be working with them. Prevented deep ones for being described as human when killed by a hero. Good, they're not human, they're obviously deep ones. And bandits no longer raid deep ones. That's good to know as well. So lots of good changes there, guys. Like I said earlier, the main ones for me is a new god, which is a huge addition. A completely different play style to all the others. Quite difficult, actually, it has to be said. Very challenging god, but very interesting to play. Really does play on that duality of good and evil. And the god tries to be both, interestingly, which is quite unique. And modding, the ability to mod, it's not in here from what I can see, but modding, like I said earlier, just opens up so many doors to possibilities that we can actually, well, you'll see. I'll do a video about modding and we'll go through them, but the events now are so much more varied, in my opinion, and I hate to say this, but a lot more interesting as well than the base ones in the base game. But we'll go through those in another video, guys. It's a really big positive change, and hopefully we just see more and more mods as we, as obviously the the lifespan of the game goes on and develops further. And then I do love these flags and the map tints at max zoom. That's a lovely touch. Not a major thing either, but it just looks, oh, it's just a bit of quality that I really like. So anyway, guys, that's the video. Hopefully you enjoyed this. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more, please do subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified when I do another video. And fingers crossed, I will not only do another video, but I will see you again soon. Thank you for watching.